Oh boy, what do you think Dr. Sigmund Freud Jarrett, if he was alive today, would think of AEW, Brian?
Again, if you're watching it expecting good booking, you're out of luck. If you're watching it for good wrestling matches, it depends what kind of wrestling you like.
Well, yeah, I think you're still out of luck. It's just that some of this may appeal to the audience who likes that type of thing. What makes you salivate the idea of sitting down and watching a 6-hour compilation of car wreck videos? What would whet your appetite for that more than sitting down and watching 3 hours of car wrecks? That gets you in the mood to watch 6 more hours of it.
Well, technically, I guess it would be 3.5 hours, right? Or a little bit more, because they also had the preview show for the pay-per-view at the end of the night, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's true, but I tapped out. But it was a September to remember. I can't remember the last time I wanted something to be over so badly. But you know what September to remember is a play on in wrestling, don't you, Brian?
Well, for Tony Khan, I thought it would be November to remember the ECW pay-per-view, or a big event.
Well, yes. And do you know where they got November to remember? Who originally, as relates to pro wrestling, came up with the concept or the tagline or the advertising slogan, November to remember?
Who?
Bob Caudle.
Really?
Bob Caudle came up with it in 1989. And we didn't do a video to November Rain for it or anything, because November Rain had not been produced yet. But this was Flair was the booker. This was late September, early October, so I had just joined the creative team. But here's something about the ratings. It'll be more interesting probably than the AEW ratings. They were certainly more numerous back then. Now, again, we're used to the instant ratings and the instant quarter hours and minute by minute, and this age group and these are the people that watched with psoriasis. They break it all down. But those days, as we've talked about before in various ways, the ratings were more primitive. It wasn't computerized. It took longer or whatever. Well, one of the other ways it was different was, Brad, you know that advertisers pay the rates that the networks would set or the stations would set based on the ratings of the television programs, right?
Right.
Well, it was most important in those days. Do you remember a phrase? It's probably been so long, a sweeps month. You remember that terminology?
Of course, and I was a big time as a WWF fan growing up, because when it was sweeps time, you actually got a couple main event matches for a few weeks on the show.
Okay, well, there you go. Thank you very much for leading into this, because this was the 1989 Turner Broadcasting had bought Crockett. Dusty just booked the shows from week to week, and you had main events when you needed main events, and you know the drill. And people have seen the footage of the main events they had in the TBS studio or the matches they'd tape on the Crockett tours and the Bash or whatever. But in those days, it was normal television not to have a competitive match. Like, really, it was all mostly job guys and squash matches, and main event matches on TV were still, as you mentioned, kind of a novelty. So as we were sitting there in one of the meetings somewhere with her, the information was conveyed to me that what the sweeps months back then were I think it was November, February, and May. Those were the months that the networks would schedule, like if they had a wedding on a sitcom, or if they had some character was going to get killed on a drama show or whatever.
A very special Too Close for Comfort.
There you go. Because the ratings that they got for those specific months would determine the advertising rates for the next whatever period. So they tried to load the shows up, right? As a work in television. So they wanted us to do something like that for November. It was sweeps month. So I sat down with the talent roster and to take my mind off being on the fucking plane one day and figured out a way that we could have for every one of our TVs in November, the Saturday night show, the Sunday night show. Was the Power Hour a thing yet? If it was, the Friday night show and both the syndicated shows for the month of November would each have a different competitive match involving talent on the full-time roster without giving away anything that we were trying to currently sell in the arenas. And then I pitched it to Flair and Kevin Sullivan. I said, here, this way we can advertise through the whole month. We're having a main event on every show. Okay, great. So we go into one of the production meetings and tell the announcers and, the other people involved in production what we're planning on doing. And Bob Caudle was sitting there. And it's so simple, it's genius. But he had the old time broadcasting background where you did the stand-up commercials for soap in the middle of the program, right? And he said, we can say it's going to be a November to remember. And then boom, that's it. That's what we called it. So Bob Caudle, not Paul Heyman, is responsible for the phrase November to remember. Do you remember that November better than this September?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Do you remember the 21st day of September? Because this was on the 17th. It was my birthday. They decided to give us an extra hour of this indie level dreck. Dreck is a word that's not used often enough, Brian Last. What do you think?
That wasn't a question. I agree. I don't hear dreck used a lot. I don't hear that really ever. No.
Well, the other question was that November in 1989 better than this September on AEW?
Yes. Oh, God, yes. Of course, unfortunately, following this period of time was Jim Herd's 1990 to forget. But yes, November to remember was very good.
1990 for amnesia. All right. So it was AEW September to remember. The graphic was London, Canada. Not London, Ontario, London, Canada. Isn't that like saying Philadelphia, United States?
I think so.
Then why did they do that?
Tony Khan.
They're in the goddamn town. They can't spell the goddamn town right or describe the goddamn town they're in. God damn it. All righty. So at least they were back in a building. They came out of the closet in Philadelphia and they're back in an actual building and had some level of audience participation there.
Yeah, look good. After seeing Philadelphia for the last month or whatever, 3 weeks, whatever it was, look good.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that's had, truth be told, to try to give them some benefit of the doubt and break in the whole thing. Give me a break. That's been part of the ratings thing because people just look at it and go, well, nothing fucking big is going to happen here. It's not like they're going to resurrect the ghost of Sabu. Well, maybe they might in the ECW arena. Poor analogy. But they led this thing off with the contract signing between our ill-humored world champion, Adam Page, and his younger, everyday opponent, Kyle Fletcher, who looks at, what was it, Benjamin Button, where suddenly he's shrinking. I don't even mean he's shrinking physically. I mean, he's getting younger. They're doing things to him that make him look more unintimidating every day. And is it just me? Brian, the glasses, and I like guys to wear suits and look like stars, Lashley and Benjamin, whatever. And this guy's got a nice physique when you see him in tights, but the nerd glasses, the shoes with no socks, the no hair, the 12-year-old face, the suit makes him look like he's on the high school debate team, doesn't it?
I don't think he looks as young as you're making it sound. I actually thought he carried himself really well at the scrum I saw a little while back. Thought he could have been a good representative for AEW, but of course he's a heel, although the babyface here really seems to like him, or at least want the best out of him, and is really rooting for him. So it kind of made me think maybe he is a babyface. I really don't know.
That's another thing. Again, they're stuck on
every promo. Every fucking Adam Page promo is the same shit.
Well, and the whole television show is stuck on repeat and rewind as far as indie wrestling tropes. And in this thing with Page is, I want you at your best. I see. I'll quote him here in a second, but it's the same kind of like 5 indie things that everybody always does that is revolving through this whole show. But that's the thing with Page, with the same delivery that he always had, where it's glorious verbiage that he's memorized with the growly voice, and he's trying to put a ton of thespianism in the thing. I want you to do this on your own, Kyle. I see your potential. The entire roster could look to you to carry the company into the future, but you have to be worthy. That's a quote. I wrote, what is this shit?
This guy just got the belt.
And besides that, for an angle in a world title match between a fucking... Page then reveals that there's a stipulation in the contract he's about to sign that if any other member of the Don Callis family gets involved, then not only is Kyle disqualified, but he also loses the TNT title. And I'm like, I thought the heels were supposed to surprise the babyface with the hidden stipulations.
Exactly.
And then they give Kyle a chance to respond. And now, in addition to the visual presentation that I mentioned to you a little bit earlier, he has a voice that sounds like a cross between Alvin the Chipmunk and Claude Worthington Smythe. Is it just up here like that at the men's? And the men's world title. He's saying the men's world title now. It's like it's contagious with anybody that's around Page that has to say the men's world title. And with some of these men, there could be a doubt as to which world title they're going for, but it's just so oddly worded. And then so Kyle signs and Page hesitates. I've been in your shoes. But the morning after All Out, it's going to crush you. And then he does another stagey, growly, rehearsed statement, trying and failing to be an actor. And he says, he does the same thing. You know, I think I know who you are, but Kyle, after you lose, but at All Out and in the days and years to follow, do not disappoint me. Like, you're a fine young lad. I'm going to beat you, but then don't disappoint. What kind of goddamn animosity is this shit supposed to fucking engender?
It's horrible.
Then Kyle will not stop talking. He's got to respond again. I wrote, they won't quit. And the heel proceeds to say, I'm a man of my word. There'll be no interference. I'm leaving the ring Saturday as champion. And tonight, I'm going to leave you bloody and unable to walk. So I'll just fuck you up tonight so that I don't have to have anybody interfere. But the heel promises that he won't cheat, and at the same time promises that he's going to fuck him up in an illegal fashion. But while the babyface is telling the heel that he thinks he's going to be the guy to lead the company one day. Can you see Flair and Dusty doing this?
If you had never watched AEW before and watched this and Don Callis wasn't there, you would think Kyle Fletcher was the babyface and Adam Page was the heel. Just a condescending prick heel.
Yes.
And it's every promo with him. There are people who think he's like the best promo in wrestling or one of them. He speaks in an unrealistic way. He uses words that he absolutely does not use in everyday conversation, and it sounds fake. And then the subtext of everything around it, the actual tone and theme of what he's saying, if you listen to it, he talks you out of caring, and it doesn't even make sense. None of it makes sense. This is horrible booking. It doesn't do anyone any favors, and Kyle Fletcher is coming across to me like the babyface.
The babyface,
The young, squeaky-voiced babyface.
Yeah, with bad fashion sense, but he'll grow up and learn how to dress. That's the most horrible thing you can accuse him of right now. No, again, the other guy, the babyface, burned somebody's house down 6 months ago. So what the fuck? They have no goddamn thought of what might happen in the future when people have to buy shit coming out of these foolish mouths.
Yeah, Hangman Adam Page sucks. Sorry to anyone who is a fan of his for some reason, but...
Sorry to insult anyone who's a fan of the Hangman. Or somebody has called him on the internet the Hangmam.
I did not see that.
Hangman, that's even better than hangnail. I think I'm going to switch to that if it's not copyrighted. We'll have a search done on that. You know what, Brian, to be perfectly honest with you, I think young Kyle, since he's obviously not getting any coaching or training here, while he's still a young man in full possession of his faculties, with a bright future ahead of him and a long time to work hard and achieve his dreams, he ought to get out of wrestling and start his own online business. Don't you think?
Well, it depends.
He could sell those ugly shoes he wears, and he could sell those weird looking suits that he wears, and he could sell those ugly haircuts that he wears and those nerdy glasses that he wears. But he could sell them all on the internet where nobody had to look at him.
Well, he may run out of inventory quickly doing that, but for Mr. and Mrs. America out there listening to the show right now who have their business or want to start their business and need a little help online, want to be in the biggest store online, want to have distribution and accessibility and everything else, there's one place to go to. They partner with us, and they can partner with the listeners, our friends at Shopify.
That's right, because they're nothing but a bunch of whores, and they will go along with anybody. It doesn't matter who they are, as long as they've got a good idea and a big opportunity to make money. That big, throbbing opportunity.
No, that doesn't change anything. They are not whores. If anything, they would be a pimp that is friends with you, the pimp. It is a fellow pimp willing to help you out and give you a gentle push along the way to make sure your business whatever business that may be.
What are you talking about? How many pimps do you know? Pimps don't like other pimps. They're competition. This is strictly a pimp-whore relationship.
No.
And you are the whore, ladies and gentlemen, because you've got the product.
Oh, no, they're the whore.
And Shopify is the pimp.
You've accused everyone of being a whore in this equation so far.
Well, no. Well, if you're, you can do what you want in your spare time. Let me get back to these whores and these pimps.
No, they're not
these
whores.
Folks at Shopify are going to take your product or your service, and they are going to make all kinds of money with it. They're going to give you most of it. And they're going to make you so much money that, much like an old-fashioned wrestling promoter, even if you think you ought to make more, you're not going to complain because, boy, howdy, you're making money, ka-ching. Shopify, right there, is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. They can help you set up your platform, your website. They can give you a marketing team that's going to be behind you out there pimping out your services and your products. You're going to be spreading yourself all over town.
Metaphorically speaking, of course.
You're going to be metaphorically spread wide, folks. Accelerate your content creation far and wide, by the way. Shopify is packed with helpful tools that write product descriptions and page headlines and enhance your candid photography.
Yeah, let's focus on...
And then there's that purple button that everybody wants to find.
Once again, let's focus on what they can do for you and how they can help you. They've helped us with our store on... ArcadianVanguard.com is what it is. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, don't fall for any false imitators. Don't go for this. You only want this.
That's right. Ka-ching goes the strings of your pocketbook or purse or wallet or carrying bag or fanny pack or whatever you put your money in. It's going to be bursting at the seams when you team up with Shopify. And all you got to do is just be ready to put out, ladies and gentlemen. But you're only going to have to put out $1 a month at the start, because you can sign up right now for a $1 a month trial period at Shopify.com/JCE. Shopify.com/JCE. You can get a $1 a month trial period so that they can show you how they can pimp you out. And you will make ka-ching. There it is.
I apologize.
You'll make that. Well, see, you got to be right on the button. See, it's that simple. Shopify, cha-ching.com.
No, it's not cha-ching.com. Don't say that.
Oh, Shopify.com/JCE, cha-ching.
Cha-ching.
Yes, we're cha-chinging now.
Again, they're partners with us. They're going to be partners with you. We're going to get through this, ladies and gentlemen. We will get through this. Shopify.com/JCE.
I'm through it right now. How about you? Let's get back to, yes, there we go. We'll get back to the action. Did you watch any of the match between Dick the Boozer and poor old Roderick Strong?
I did, thinking you would review it. It was a different kind of match just because now we're dealing with Marina Shafir's husband in there with Moxley, so I was very curious how this would go. I thought, I don't know if physical is the right word, Moxley took more from Roderick Strong than I thought he would, but then it had just turned right back into everything else we hate with the Death Riders.
Well, yeah, well, and that's Roddy's strengths are he's a physical guy, and he doesn't mind laying shit in or guys laying shit in with him. And he always prided himself on his physical conditioning, his cardio. You can't blow him up. He was perfect for the Ring of Honor product of in-ring of 2010, 11, 12-ish, whatever the fucking on. He's never been able to be a fireball promo. Let's just say that. That's his biggest drawback. But, you know, he'll make you fight for shit in the ring, and you can't wear him out, and it's not easy to physically intimidate. Plus, for good and bad, his wife is in Moxley's group. So, but the point is that now that everybody's smart, they booked Moxley to wrestle the husband of the woman that's been trailing him around for the last 9 months. And then they beat the piss out of each other. But the position that Roddy's been put in this company since the start, I would not have booked him to go 15 fucking minutes. Because again, whether it's a good match or not, now you're just talking about if you're going to use Moxley on top, Roderick Strong, who never beats anybody and has been used as a comedy figure, comes closer than most people to beating the shit out of him. You see where I'm going with this? I have to apply it to the people I don't like as well as the people I do. Yeah,
Moxley took more from him than he does almost anyone, it seemed like.
Yeah.
And then, of course, towards the end, they got in the ring and started trading blows like every fucking Moxley match.
Well, yeah, of course, because that's what he does. And then Moxley choked him out after about 15 minutes. So when the heel wins and just chokes a fucking babyface out, it's not like you get a lot of heat. And that's where their indie-mindedness. They think it helped Roddy because he had a great match with this guy. It doesn't help Roddy because the booking has to help Roddy. Having a great match against people and losing makes you a loser if you do it all the time, which is what he does. And it doesn't help Moxley because if a guy who loses all the time, if it takes Moxley 15 minutes to beat him and it's all he can do, then what the fuck does that say for Moxley? They can't fucking figure it out.
So weird dynamic, though, just the idea that I watched a lot of it on mute, so I don't know what the commentators were saying because I hate the commentators. And they didn't get rid of Schiavone. They just added Schiavone. It's now just like a rotating group of these people.
Well, and I thought they might have given Tony a little break because is that just me? Because I've known him for 40 years. I don't sound as as squeaky as I used to when I was 25 or whatever. But Tony's voice sounds like it's weak, it's fading, it's something's happening. And I worry about him at his age. I thought they were giving him a little rest, but now he's in the ring, doing the in rings and all the various zabadas, and as you said, rotating around to the hot seat.
Someone's got to blow Tony Khan. Metaphorically speaking.
Well, speaking of Tony Khan blowing something, did you see or hear, I should say, the clip in the trailer when MJF burst into Tony Khan's trailer office and was reading him the riot act and ranting at him about he didn't want to have the thumbtack and barbed wire table hypodermic needle fucking match with Mark Briscoe? Or did you skip over that because you didn't understand why they had a static shot of a trailer door for a minute and a half?
I saw it. I thought it was embarrassingly bad. Tony Khan should not, even vocally, should not be doing anything because he couldn't pull it off. I didn't believe him. And because of that, you don't believe anything the other guy's saying. So now it's just two friends smiling at each other while they record audio.
Well, right at bus, they're having this just violent argument right after they were hugging at the wedding. But besides that, it was so blatantly scripted because it wasn't a real argument. It was not in any way realistic, not only the performance between the two individuals, but also, why could we hear it? For the people who didn't see this, and I'm sure there are many, you see a camera shot of MJF in the back somewhere going into Tony Khan's big dressing trailer, which I guess they have for all of the stars, and he slams the door behind him, and it says Tony Khan on the sign on the door, but MJF is mic'd, or the room is mic'd, and you can hear clearly on tape, even though the camera is just shooting this fucking door for a minute and a half. You can hear clearly for television the argument that they're having. Who was mic'd? If MJF was, because he didn't say to the cameraman, like, come on, let's go. There was just a shot of him storming in that a cameraman was catching. Why would he go in there and have an argument that he was going to lose and come out mad about while he's got a microphone on?
Yeah, by the way, this is the same promoter that was afraid for his life when CM Punk was choking out Jack Perry. Not him. Here he is. He's bowling up at MJF.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's telling MJF, you just calm down there, son. But was that why Tony wasn't worried? Because he has a microphone to record everything in his trailer, so he's got evidence? What?
I thought this was embarrassing. I really, really didn't like this.
So speaking of embarrassing, well, go ahead. I
just don't understand the point. I don't understand the philosophy behind doing stuff like this and then having it in the can long enough for someone to see it and go, this is not good. People are going to laugh at us.
Well, but there's another parallel here to real life events. Can anybody tell the boss that he's not any good? If it was his idea, can they tell him it was a stupid idea? How? Or they're just going to air it with no explanation. Oh, here's something happening in the back. We can hear every word. Oh, golly.
Yeah, no, I just saw some stupid quote going around from Tony Schiavone. It was like, for everyone who says, he can't book, why don't you try booking? Why don't you do it? It's like,
I have.
Yeah, just about every booker that's still alive thinks Tony's bad at it, and all the fans who think they're smart enough to be bookers think he's bad at it. But he doesn't pay us, to be fair, so maybe we would change our opinion if he was giving us that Schiavone money.
Oh, that big sweet Schiavone check every week. I don't know. All right. Anyway, let's move along. We got to get through the entire month of September. That's how long it seemed like this program lasted. Bobby Lashley versus Tia Leone. this kind of loosely fit the definition of clash of styles because they both have the same one, except Leone's a little greener at it. But they're two giant guys that punched and kicked that don't take bumps, that shouldn't be taking bumps. That it was not a smooth exchange of ideas in the ring. And that's why both of these guys look best, work best when it's someone of a different but complementary style, but also different but complementary physique. They don't have to be 160 pounds, but it's two bulls button heads, and one of the bulls is in no way, shape, or form over. So then it just kind of became blah. The people are chanting Lashley now that they're baby faces. Why not? But the people are chanting Lashley. The Hurt Syndicate is still over. But now they're trying to manufacture opponents for him, build opponents for him. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is wrestling. You're supposed to do that. But there's nobody competent or qualified or suitable for the fucking role. And they're trying with this guy. And this is too early for this guy. I mean, for forever. And that's a very long time. Maybe too early, but we don't know. But right now, the way that they presented him so far is the two stooges that never really do anything important, of the whiny ass fucking little heel that doesn't matter. Have I mischaracterized this?
No, I guess these are guys the Hurt Syndicate are okay with working with. That's step one. The problem is Ricochet, for all of his faults, was a WWE star. And he still has a little bit of mojo that comes with that. These other guys aren't rookies. They're not new. They've been around for a while. They've been on AEW for a while, never used right. It'd be one thing if they just showed up and were being booked like this. They've been on this show. They were part of the Nana stable. I mean, they've been around. Yeah. I don't know if people are really getting into it. I'm not. But there's a lot of things on this show I'm not. It's not like this is unique.
Well, the one thing they got into was after Lashley had speared him on the floor and got a big pop, and then MVP came over and just punched the shit out of Ricochet, and the people started chanting MVP, MVP. And then Benjamin super kicked old Bishop, and they did a couple of false finishes, and then they did the deal where Lashley got the hurt lock, and Leone kicked off the buckle, but Bobby kept it, and the referee called for the bells, so wasn't really an exciting finish to save the non-exciting match. And then the Hurt Syndicate beat up the heels, and the fans chanted for them. So they're having the 6-man tag this weekend, right? One would think that Ricochet and company are then going to win the 6-man tag because I don't know why they're having it now, to be honest with you, because they just beat up the heels and Ricochet. And MVP beat him up too. So why are we having the match now this weekend? That's not rhetorical.
I can't answer that for you. Again, we still don't understand why the MJF thing ended the way it did. And then the tag title run ended the way it did. And now this, I don't have any answers for you.
The only reason I can think of that even the Hurt Syndicate wouldn't want to beat up the heels on free TV before they were beating the heels on pay-per-view, unless they ain't beating the heels on pay-per-view. But then if they beat the heels up on free TV before the pay-per-view, nobody wants to see the pay-per-view. Once again, they've stuck themselves in a corner somewhere.
But who wrestled Shelton last week? Was it Ricochet? Because they beat Shelton, right?
Yes. It took everything Shelton knew not to fucking make it look completely phony that he wasn't just beating that little midget. Whatever the odds are, I think put your money on Ricochet and the Two Stooges to win the six-man. I don't understand what's going on here. Okie dokie, Brian. It was time now. They were in Ontario. They weren't in Toronto yet, but it's still the same province. So you knew Edge and Christian had to be there. They're going to be popular. They're hometown heroes coming back, making good home province heroes. What are they doing with the build of this match? Well, now they've almost sidelined poor Dax. We'll get to that in a minute. But I don't understand how, if this is, again, the point you made the other day, and even more so because this isn't a husband and his wife against a husband and his wife. Well, we don't know. We're not trying to pry on people's personal relationships. But if they're this pissed at each other and they're the friends that betrayed Edge and stabbed him in the back and he's reunited with his old friend who's still a prick and an asshole, whatever the fuck, do they have to stand there and talk to each other for 20 minutes? And then get in a fight instead of just... And Tony Schiavone. What was that they used to call the hairstyle of fucking business in the front and party in the back? He had a jacket and tie on top and baggy pants and tennis shoes on the bottom. Did he not realize we were going to see his feet when he got in the ring?
Or he's just given up.
Or he's just given up. Or maybe he hadn't been taking his medication and, we need to watch out to see if Tony Schiavone wanders off from the shoots these days. But the story to cover it, there was going to be heavy fines if there was a fight between these people. Stokely said it was going to be $100,000 a piece to touch either Dax or Cash, and $500,000 for him.
Why?
And the match would be canceled. Why? Yeah, exactly. Why?
How? What?
There's a motherfucker in the next segment of some of these shows trying to pour bleach down somebody's fucking throat, or goddamn running them over with a vehicle, but we can't fight in the promo or we'll fine you $500,000. It just doesn't. It's all bad indie ideas that they've seen wrestling in the past and somehow don't understand the context, and they don't understand how to in any way make it believable or plausible. And because there's no quality control over this show and there's a goddamn major issue with attention deficit disorder, they just do shit in every segment that just doesn't make sense from week to week, month to month, and year to year over other things they do in similar situations. Was that succinct enough for you?
Very much.
When Cash started his promo with 16 years ago, I met you for the first time, I knew this was going to go a while. But he had some oomph. He had some oomph. He got to his point. Dax started talking. And most of the promo was to the fans about how great they were instead of Edge and Christian about how great they were. Did you notice that?
Yep. Yep, I noticed that.
He couldn't even disguise it, that everything he'd come up with to say about how great they were to Edge and Christian was really his defense to the fucking fans. And here's another thing we did for you people. And he went to the point where he was looking at them as there was Edge and Christian standing over there and Dax was addressing the stands. So, well, at least he wasn't down in their face personally where one of them might have fucking slapped him. Jesus. So then Edge snatched the mic away from Dax and actually picked up the energy. And I know you're not a fan, and I have not been a fan of some things of recent years, but he can cut a promo with some fucking energy at least. And he got the people with it because it sounded like he meant it, and he had the right inflections and paused every once in a while in the right place and didn't fuck up punchlines or mispronounce words or whatever the rest of this fucking crew does on a regular basis. And then, of course, Christian takes the microphone and says, well, $100,000 isn't anything to me because I'm rich. So and he punched Dax in the face and apparently broke his fucking nose. For real. Because they get in a big fight and security runs in and everybody gave security a bunch of their finishes. And Dax is out on the floor and his nose is just gushing blood. And now he's already made the announcement, I'm gonna wrestle, I'm gonna be in the match, but he broke his nose with the first fucking punch. And these are the professionals, the experienced veterans. What the fuck has gone on?
Yeah, I wasn't sure, I mean, it looked like what it looked like, but I was still like, let me see what exactly cut him. And he was standing there at the very end and you just see the blood pouring out of his nose. Like, oh, okay. It was a broken nose.
There was, I don't know if it was cut on the bridge or whatever, maybe, but the blood was coming out of his nose. He broke his nose. And I managed Bobby Eaton for 7 straight years. How many punches do you think Bobby Eaton threw working over 300 times a year?
Oh, wow.
For 7 years?
Thousands.
I don't know that he ever, I can't remember. It did not happen that he ever busted anybody open or swelled anybody up or gave anybody a fat lip. Not with a punch. Now he bulldogged Tommy Rogers on that table and fucked him up a little bit. But point being, what the fuck? You instead every 20 minutes you can throw one punch, you break the guy's nose. Well, we wish them all well in their endeavors on fuck tomorrow. I got a great couple of days coming up. I got to watch 9 hours of wrestling, talk to you about it, and then go get teeth pulled.
What a weird build. It still doesn't make sense. I don't understand why they did the fan thing. When they came out with the security, I wasn't sure. Are they coming out with security from the fans or from Christian? Serious, because of the thing they did last week. Or are they coming out for Christian and Edge? And they didn't seem too worried about Christian and Edge. They seem more concerned about the fans.
Yeah. Well, and also, besides the threat of the heavy fines, they had to send 12 indie wrestlers out there dressed in black security shirts so that they could take a bunch of bumps. I wish they'd get some of those real fucking either like rent-a-cops or back in the day we had the Andy Frayne security ushers or whatever the fuck. Some pot-bellied fuck with a mustache from lower Pittsburgh and then try to give him a fucking bump. But all these indie guys look the same. Every single one of them.
What do you think of that line, though? I'm rich and just doing it. Does that work, you think?
Well, for the people who were already there, they
I'll blow
liked
off this
it,
ridiculous fine.
Well, yes, that's the thing is for the people that were there that had already laughed at the idea that it was that much. Well, at least he had a cute response to that horseshit. But $100,000, $500,000 for Stokely for fuck. Even the smart fans who know that the guys make a lot of money don't believe that, much less the average person on the street is going, what the fuck? $100,000 bullshit. I had to wash that down. Did you see who faced the Hardley Boys in their contest?
I did. Now I'm trying to remember who it was, but I did watch the match, of course.
Well, of course. Well, good. I didn't, but I saw who the opponent was, or one of them, both of them. Austin Gunn. Where's Colton?
Oh, that's right.
Is he hurt?
Yeah, I believe he got hurt last time we saw him.
Okay, 3-4 years ago, I said the Guns. They're your tag team of the future. What a great bump and heel team. Now, get them a couple of 3 years of experience. What the fuck has happened now? And his partner was Juice Robinson against Maddie and Nikki. Jesus Christ, Juice was hurt forever, came back and they had shorn him of his locks, but he's grown his beard back, thank God. But what the fuck? This guy is different. He's a gimmick. You can push him. He can work. He can talk. He's got a weird aura. And now he's become a job guy and a babyface job guy for the fucking Cucamonga kids. And where is Jay White? Not that I'm anxious to see him again because I didn't particularly like him, but he and Juice were a good heel tag team.
He's hurt
if
too.
If Juice had done the talking and they had both worked.
Yeah, he's hurt too. That's why he's not there, just like Colton Gunn.
So right there you have half of two of what could be main event level heel tag teams in this company are now babyface job guys for a team that's never been deader. As in, they should both be in Kelsey's jockstrap. And the Harley Boys won. I have no other thoughts on that match. Would you like to weigh in, or should we continue on?
No, I mean, they're still doing the whole comedy thing. This time they bribed the pyro guy to give them a full entrance.
Well, yeah, cool, because now they're rags to riches because they got $500,000 in that bullshit fucking 12-man tag or whatever last week, and they're giving it away to everybody to buy their credibility back.
Yeah, it's that whole Duke Brothers thing where you get handed the money, you're like, we're back. What do you mean you're back? You didn't get that much money.
Well, speaking of stupid shit, all right. How about this? Just speaking of nothing in general, this is what the next match was. Nothing in general. Poor old Rigor Mortis. Now, they're featuring him on every TV show because I guess he is entwined or intertwined or combined with Mercedes Mone, right? That's what we're hearing.
I believe that they are a couple. I don't know who carries whose bags, but they are a couple.
Couple of what? We don't know. But the problem is they're featuring him on every TV, but they're beating him on every TV. Mascara Dorado. He was introduced at 167 pounds. Now, whether you like poor old Frank Mortis or not, Frank the lawyer to his friends, he's a big, fearsome-looking fuck. He's 200 whatever pounds. They bring him out and have him do a job to this little teeny tiny fellow who beat him clean, the 160-pound guy, because they've got a three-way coming up with and here comes Don Fallis leading our friend Okada. He had to wake him up and get him off the couch to walk out here. They confront Mascara Dorado, and then suddenly Take a Shit's music plays because Take is a member of Don's family also, but he comes out and stares at old Oblada. The two family members are staring at each other because here's another thing. Tony Khan loves it, like when on the indies, people stare at each other. And then Mascara dove off the top rope and Take Shit sidestepped it, and he wiped out Okada with the crossbody, and then he got up and pointed a finger at Take, and they stared at each other while Oblada considered himself lucky and just laid there like he usually does. What the fuck? It's everything. Every match has to lead in the same shit as interaction of some kind with whoever has a match the next day. And there's only so many ways you can do it and so many times you can do it, and they've exhausted both. Out of Brian again, was this pretty goddamn flat?
Yeah, the fans weren't as up for this as they had been for previous things on the show. This is the kind of thing that Tony Khan likes. This is the kind of thing that Tony Khan's going to put on this show, and I don't know if it works.
Did you enjoy Toni Storm's moment in the spotlight? More like searchlight. At this point, somebody ought to be looking for her that's escaped from a home. It's Toni Storm doing her promos, yet there is a talent to this, and it's funny, but it's like a Shakespearean reading of a dirty limerick. And it just, the whore you all adore, the skank you want to spank. I think the people, they like to listen and laugh at it. Does it sell tickets? Is it so preposterous that you just want to see her come out and talk? Is there any reason to have matches? Does this help the matches? All these questions I'm asking.
You know, I'm not a fan of the gimmick on wrestling, but she's very talented. The fans there love her. She is the biggest female star in AEW. In a way, I kind of thought this worked just because if they're going to be in a world where she does all this stuff and it's in black and white, all that shit, these other two girls coming out to interrupt in the middle of it is kind of the only way to do it, I guess.
Well, but again, the spotlight is on her, and suddenly Jamie Hayter appears in the spotlight, dressed like Ronald McDonald's sister. And she recites lines to Toni. And then Chris Statlander appears in the spotlight on the other side, and she recites some lines to them. And then Toni says, well, trim your bushes, bitches. We're going all out. And then Thekla's music plays, and she comes running out with referees and basically chases all the other three off. And because it was time for Thekla's match, and they were done, so it looked like Thekla chased Toni Storm, Statlander, and Jamie Hayter off. But nevertheless, that's what I'm saying is Toni Storm, the fans that like AEW, they like silly, funny wrestling. They don't want to take shit seriously. They can see through all this anyway, and they don't care. So would it be easier just to have her come out and do the interviews? Do we have to have the matches? Do the matches matter? They just want to laugh at her promos, don't they?
They want to play along. They want to play along with the world that she lives in. You know, kind of like a Orange Cassidy or a Grizzly Redwood or, you know, any other thing that indie fans find cute and they get into. And then people who aren't indie fans see it and go, what is this? Explain this to me. Now, Toni Storm may be the best of them all, but it is what it is.
Well, we're on the downhill slide now, folks. Don't worry. Next up was the no-holds-barred match with Thekla versus Queen Wayayata, who came out carrying a garbage can, which was very symbolic for this television program. Almost 10 o'clock, and that's what we need, a girls' garbage match. And, of course, they started on the floor, and they pulled out the chairs, and I skipped ahead to when it was over. And Thekla, to the surprise of no one, won the match. But then she got on the microphone and was screaming at Toni Storm. And Toni Storm hit the ring and double-legged her and got on top of her. And Toni Storm punched her own left hand with her own right hand over and over. It's like they don't even pretend. They don't think that there's a television camera there. They think, well, the people in the cheap seats won't be able to tell. There's a fucking camera there. Then here came Jamie Hayter and Statlander, and they fought, and Julia Hart came out, and Blue Sky, and Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir came out and did nothing and then turned around and left. I was just wondering if they thought that it was their brawl when it was scheduled to be the next brawl. That was just completely useless. And then Statlander walked out, and Thekla and the two heels with her beat up Toni Storm, but Storm made her own comeback, and the heels bailed out, but Jamie Hayter came from behind Toni Storm and drew back and was going to punch her, but Toni Storm saw her, so she stopped, and they yelled and cussed at each other. What a fucking mess.
That AEW women's
Oh,
division.
I have to loosen my headphones just a bit. My head hurts. Moving along, Pip Sabian and Dino Douche wrestled Hong Kong Phooey and Kevin Knight, who were announced at a total weight of 380 pounds. I think that's if Spitball's got rocks in his pockets. And they did the thing where Pip Sabian, for some reason, is still berating Dino and slapping him around. We don't know what the reason is. It's just inexplicable. And so finally, Dino short-armed the tag, dropped off the apron, and Phooey beat Pip with a Phooey kick. You know that spinning Phooey kick he does?
Yeah.
Did you like Darby Allen defending himself and why he had to climb the mountain when he had to sit down with Bryan Danielson there?
No, and this is right around the point in time in the show where I kind of went exclusively to mute.
Yeah.
Because there were other things happening in the world and on other monitors here. But I saw this and, again, it's AEW has a very unique way of getting their personalities and characters over to the fans that are already there.
Well, after they talked about Darby climbing the mountain, he said he didn't know if he was ready for Moxley. It's always good to have a babyface that's really sure of himself. But there's something going on here because he told Danielson, don't interfere. Darby's worried that Danielson will get hurt. Don't help me out. I don't want you to get hurt. So basically the babyface is saying, not only do I not know that I can beat this babyface or this heel or not, but I'm hoping that my friend won't help me because he might get hurt too. And then Danielson promised, but then he said, you got to promise me you're going to do something or you'll do something for me. And he whispered something in Darby's ear. And Darby said he promised too. So, boy, howdy. And then finally, we had Mercedes Moné join the announce team after doing a little stripper dance. And we saw Riho face Robin Renegade. And I wrote, this is not in any way serious and worth of my time. And then the main event was Josh Alexander and Chia against Top Flight, Dante and Darius. They were back. And this went past the 3 hours. And they did an overrun on their 3-hour show. And the heels won, of course. And then, Brian, see if you can keep track of this.
Oh, the big mess of everyone go ahead.
Yeah. Soon as the heels won, then Lance Archer and Rocky Romero ran in and glommed the baby faces and surrounded Chris Daniels and was going to fucking menace him. But here came Scorpio Sky and Hong Kong Phooey and Kevin Knight, and they hit the ring and had a big sloppy fight with everybody, except then the Hartley boys ran out, and nobody cared, by the way, not a single reaction. It's like, eh. And to counteract them, here came Brody King and Bandito. So Bandito could dive on everybody. And everybody except Rocky and Archer and Chris Daniels got in a sloppy fight and fought to the back. But in the ring, Archer and Rocky then started to beat up Chris Daniels. But then Hangman Adam Page's music played where he came out to save Daniels and cleared the ring out. But Kyle Fletcher came out and beat up Page while Rocky and Archer got a table, which they set up at ringside so that Kyle tried to brainbuster Page through the table, but Page made a comeback on Kyle, nailed Rocky, nailed Archer, went to buckshot Kyle, but Kyle grabbed the belt and hit Page in the head with the belt and then gave him a brain buster off the apron through the table. Because hitting him in the head with a belt and knocking him goofy wasn't enough. So now, so the idea that they left the show with, I can't believe I said it. is it when he defends the world title 4 days from now, after having been given a brain buster off the apron through a table to the floor, he might be compromised.
Yeah, it was an interesting end. I mean, a very Tony Khan ending to the show in a lot of ways. Just everyone running out there and brawling, and they probably think it's brilliant. It reminded me, we didn't even discuss, I don't think, earlier in the Moxley match, the spot where Roddy Strong tripped himself because we were it was too late to get to the ring to grab his leg by a second, but enough people noticed it that I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. But it's a unique build. Just when I thought WWE had a unique build to their pay-per-view, here's AEW having a pay-per-view that makes you question why. It doesn't really feel like a pay-per-view worthy card, even for them. The build to the Adam Page match is non-existent and nonsensical. Edge and Christian versus FTR. Again, the match should be good. The build has been atrocious. As time has gone by, the thing you pointed out, the idea they got back together for that match with Kip Sabian and Killswitch or whatever it was.
Yeah, they gave it away the month before Toronto.
All they had to do was wait until now. I don't think it would have hurt the previous show. So yeah, I'm of the belief that AEW right now is just lost at sea, and the captain is alive and well, and they're just going to stay lost at sea for the foreseeable future, or until they can't get a new rights deal.
I'm your captain, and I'm feeling mighty sick.
Well, that was AEW
Well, that
Dynamite.
was the September to remember of the Dynamite and the collision and the pudding pops and everything. And before we talk about who might or might not have watched this production, Brian, is there any good news from the world of the Arcadian Vanguard Network this fine week?
Another exciting week on the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network, and information about all the shows on Twitter at Superpodcast, or of course on Facebook, facebook.com/Arcadian Vanguard. Each and every day, you mention the news, get your wrestling news for free. None of the fluff, none of the filler, none of the clickbait, none of the paywall, and of course, none of the star ratings. Only the actual wrestling news. Get it from thewrestlingnews.com or wherever you find your favorite podcast, the Morning Wrestling Newscast, only from the Wrestling News. Want to make mention of Stick to Wrestling with John McAdam, a look back at the supercards of 1985. McAdamPod.com or wherever you find your favorite podcast. Of course, Shut Up and Wrestle with Brian Solomon, SUAWPod.com. If you love wrestling history, that is a show for you. But let's mention Irresistible Force, his new biography of Gorilla Monsoon, available wherever you find your favorite books. And of course, the 605 Super Podcast, The Mothership! All right, thank you. I can't tell if that was you or a machine. Go through the archive, 605pod.com, wherever you find your favorite podcast, The Mothership.
It's so lifelike. All righty. Did moving out of a former bingo hall in Philadelphia into somewhat of a regular arena and promoting this big 3-hour extravaganza knock them back over the top of 600,000 people this week?
Well, we have the ratings, and again, it's a special 3-hour block of Dynamite and Collision. Wednesday, September 17th, 2025, on TBS, 8 to 10:01, AEW Dynamite was watched on average by 667,000 viewers.
Oh, they made it.
AEW Collision, right after it, 10:01 to 11:06, 535,000 viewers.
Boy, I'll tell you what, that surprises me that they were able to keep that many people to hold on for that long through that show. So I'm not surprised they got over 600 for Dynamite, but over 500 for 10 to 11 after they'd already seen 2 hours of misery.
And again, I thought it was a bad show, so if you were tuning in for the first time in weeks and this is what you saw, I wonder what you think, but let's go to the quarter hours. These were compiled by WrestleNomics. Quarter 1, 8 to 8:15 p.m., Adam Page and Kyle Fletcher's live promo, and the Jon Moxley Darby Allen video, 746,000 viewers.
And that is what? Well over 100,000 up from their previous start last week, and it's they haven't started with 700 something thousand for a number of weeks, have they?
It's been a while. It's been in the 600s, I think, recently, but
So they got to jump on the competition.
quarter 2, 8:15, 8:30 p.m. Roderick Strong versus John Moxley with picture-in-picture. 687,000 viewers.
Ouch, okay, and they're back to the pattern of they start with a bigger number and they lose more between the first and the second quarter. So there went 50, what is it, 46, 56, 59,000 people.
We go to quarter 3, 8:30, 8:45 p.m. The continuation of Strong versus Moxley, the MJF Mark Briscoe video, and an ad break, and Bobby Lashley versus Toa Leona with picture-in-picture. 673,000 viewers.
Okay, well, that's only 14,000. I guess that's not bad, but they got to stabilize this to really make their average now, don't they?
And by the way, MJF Mark Briscoe video, that's also the segment, I believe, where MJF and Tony Khan had their audio confrontation.
Yes, they had a little hype video for the match, and then that thing that they did.
Well, we go to quarter 4, 8:45 to 9 p.m. That thing they do. Bobby Lashley versus Toa Leona continued. The post-match with MVP, Shelton Benjamin, Ricochet, and Bishop Khan. An ad break, and the Christian Cage and Cope and FTR entrances. 663,000 viewers.
Okay, well, they've slowed the descent. They lost the majority of what they've lost in the first 15 minutes, and then they've only lost another 24,000.
Well, Jim, it's time for the big 9 o'clock hour, quarter 5, 9 to 9:15 p.m. The continuation, or I guess the actual segment with Cope and Christian, FTR and Stokely, the Young Bucks backstage promo, and the Bucks versus Austin Gunn and Juice Robinson. 697,000 viewers.
Aha! So they picked up 34,000 at the top of the hour, but unfortunately, the top of the hour contained the Cucamonga Kids, so did they do what they do every time and kill the quarter hour after them?
We go now to the quarter hour after the start of that segment, 9:15 and 9:30 p.m., quarter 6. The continuation of the Bucks versus Gunn and Robinson, with picture-in-picture, an ad break, the Willow Nightingale, Harley Cameron, Mina Shirakawa, Queen Aminata, Triangle of Madness backstage promo, 633,000 viewers.
Ouch! So they lost 64,000, and they've gone to the all-time show low. Thank you, Cucamonga Kids.
Well, Jim, we go to quarter 7, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. The Beast Mortos versus Mascara Dorado with picture-in-picture, and the post-match with Okada, Don Callis, and Takeshita, followed by an ad break. 618,000 viewers.
Boy, they've got a gift then that, do you think the thread hanging through the show that Kyle was going to hospitalize Paige kept the people through something like that? But why would you want to wait all night to see?
Yeah, I don't think it was that.
Why would you want to wait all night to see the heel put the babyface in the hospital?
But again, I thought Kyle was the babyface in that segment. It was a condescending heel being a prick for no reason. Jim, we go to quarter 8. I remind you, we have a 1 hour, 6 minute overrun. We go to quarter 8, 9:45 to 10 p.m. Toni Storm, Jamie Hayter, and Chris Statlander's ramp promo, and the start of Tekla versus Queen Aminata in a street fight. 624,000 viewers.
Holy shit, that's a gift. That's the strongest that they have ever done at the end of the show. They're only down 122,000 people, and they actually picked up from quarter 7, which never happens.
Well, Jim, we go now to technically quarter one of Collision, 10 to 10:15 p.m. The continuation of Tekla versus Amanada, and the post-match with the Triangle of Madness, Toni Storm and Chris Statlander, and the Death Riders and Jamie Hayter. Yep, that's it. Then the Skyflight Adam Page backstage angle, and then Kill Switch and Kip Sabian versus Jet Speed with picture-in-picture. 620,000 viewers.
Good God. Again, this Drek, they're keeping a consistent number. They've gone 633, 618, 624, 620. And as bad as I always want to point out when this show sucks, they've never kept a level number like that this late in a program for even shit that was better, and they've even shit that was worse. This is very surprising.
Well, we go to quarter two of Collision, 10:15 to 10:30 p.m. Kill Switch and Kip Sabian versus Jet Speed continued. The Big Bill backstage promo, an ad break, and the Darby Allen conversation with Bryan Danielson. 552,000 viewers.
Now reality may be starting to set in, that it's getting late and this just goes on forever.
Quarter three of Rampage, 10:30 to 10:45 p.m. Riho versus Robin Renegade with picture-in-picture.
Oh, boy. Okay.
The post-match with Mercedes Mone, a recap, an ad break, the Death Riders Ops video, and the Don Callis rant promo. 527,000 viewers.
Yeah, there's a limit to anybody's patience. So here we go.
Well, we go now to quarter four of Collision. I remind you, we have a 6-minute overrun. 10:40.
I can't believe they stayed above 500,000.
10:45 to 11 p.m. Top Flight versus Hechicero and Josh Alexander with picture-in-picture. 483,000 viewers. 6-minute overrun, including the wild post-match with the Don Callis family, Scorpio Sky, Jet Speed, the Young Bucks, and Bro Dito. 440,000 viewers.
Good Lord. Okay, and they ended up doing the thing they had promised at the start of the 3-hour block by putting Adam Page, well, if not in the hospital, laying him out. He couldn't walk out under his own power. But by that point, 306,000 of the people that saw the setup segment were not there to see the result of it.
It's a great build.
Even when they get a gift and their regular 2-hour block would have gone from 746,000 to 624,000. That ain't bad for them. But they had to hang on way too long, like usual, and go from 624 to 440.
Well, that was AEW Dynamite, a special September to remember, the lead up to the big pay-per-view this weekend as we are recording. And we'll see what happens next week on this always rewarding show.
Well, and actually, we have to go ahead and sign off now, Brian, because we have to eat a meal before we get up tomorrow and start watching hours and hours and hours of wrestling.